I've been reading a lot of books by women lately, but until I got about a third of the way through Writers and Lovers by Lily King, the gender of the author of all those books really had not been an issue for me. It hadn't occurred to me. It wasn't anything I had thought about. But I found myself questioning the protagonists of that novel's decisions, their thoughts, their preferences, their actions, and I wondered to myself, do I not understand her because she's a female character created by a female author? And I found myself thinking to myself, well, clearly, Writers and Lovers, you can look at it, clearly Writers and Lovers is a book written by a woman for women, and therefore I'm not likely to understand the main character, and the book wasn't written for me, and therefore, it's okay if I don't understand the main character, so I stopped trying. And then something kind of funny happened. Once I stopped trying to understand the main character, once I stopped expecting King to explain her to me in a way that I, a man, could understand, all of a sudden, not only did I start enjoying the book more, but I started feeling like I understood what was happening and understood why that character was behaving the way they were. This made me re-examine my commitment to diverse reading and to recognize a trap that I had created. And I think that it's possible that lots of people committed to diverse reading have created, but a trap that I fell into. The moment something in a book written by a woman didn't make sense to me as a man, I blame the author. I blame Lily King. I blamed her for failing to explain her character to me in a way that I would understand, and in a way in which would give me an understanding of women in general. This is of course ridiculous, but it is something I think that happens with people who intentionally read diversely. I've made it a goal in my life to read more diversely. I intentionally seek out books that are written by a wide variety of people, people of different genders, people of different sexual identities, people of different races, ethnicities, religions, people who live in geographic locations that not only have I never been to, but I'm unlikely to ever go. And that's a commitment that I've made. There are two reasons why I've done that. One is to promote the publication and the reading of authors from a diverse background. A diverse background is very different from the one which has traditionally dominated American publishing. I'm an American, so I think about American publishing and books published in America first. Traditionally, going back even as recently maybe as 20, 25 years ago, most books that were taken seriously, most books that were published by people who looked a lot like me, people who were a lot like me. So one thing I want to do is I want to promote greater diversity in publishing and greater diversity in reading, and I believe in that. And I believe in that, the value of that, because I think that allows me and other readers to experience the lives of people and places that are very different from the life I lead. And I think this is one of those things that we oftentimes mention is a benefit of reading, that we get to travel to places we'll never go. We get to have experiences we'll never have. And I think one of the things that I frequently say, one of the things I believe is that by doing that, I gain a greater appreciation for the breadth, the diversity of experience, but also the common human threads that hold us all together. That reading diversely makes me more compassionate, it makes me more empathetic, and therefore the more diversely I read, the more of that sense of overall humanity I create, and the more compassion I create. But there's a trap in that kind of thinking. There's a trap in approaching literature and books that way, and it's a trap I fell into with, of all books and of all people, Lily King's Writers and Lovers, because the only difference really between Lily King and I is gender. It's a significant difference, but it's not the most diverse book I've ever read, but I still fell into that trap. But here's what the trap is. With that approach to reading, I run the risk of creating unrealistic expectations for the authors of these diverse books that I'm reading, because my motivation in reading is, at least in part, to understand their experience. I have a tendency then to expect their experience to be representative of the entire group that they belong to, and for their story to teach me something about an entire group of people. And to explain it to me in a way in which I, a cishet white man living in the United States of America, can understand. And when a book fails to do that, or when I fail, I think, to gain that understanding, it's far too easy to blame the author for my failure. And I think that's what I did here with Lily King. And ironically, by giving up on trying to understand, I got rid of that expectation for her, and then I understood. So it's important to remember, it's not the job of a black novelist to explain the entire black experience. It's not the job of a gay novelist to explain the entire gay experience. It's not the job of a trans author to explain the entire trans experience. It's not the job of a woman author to explain the entire woman experience, just like it's not the job of a white male author to explain the entire white male experience. That is not their job. I may learn more about these groups and about the experiences of individuals who make up these groups. I may learn about their lives, their struggles, their ideas. That may develop a greater sense of compassion, a greater sense of the things that unite us as human beings. And in fact, the author, that may be part of what the author's doing. But by emphasizing that, by placing that burden on this work of fiction, I am placing an unrealistic burden on the author, and it also then makes me ignore or make secondary the beauty, the art, the writing, the emotional impact perhaps of the story, because I'm always looking for this understanding. It's the author's job to relate their individual experience, to share with us their individual thoughts and ideas and the things that happen to them and their beliefs. It's not their job to be a representative of their entire group. And this is why we should be reading diversely. I should read diversely to understand individual experiences, not to gain necessarily insight into a whole group of people, but to understand individual experiences. And those individual authors then are not responsible for my confusion, and it does not absolve me of responsibility to try to understand. Most of the time I remember not to do this, but that trap is always there. So, in the show card I asked the question, should men read books by women to understand women? And the answer is no. Men should not read books by women to understand women. They should read books by women just like they should read books by black people or Asian people or people from Madagascar or trans people or gay people, to gain a broader insight into the human experience, to understand those individuals' experiences in life and ideas and creativity, and to celebrate their art, because that's what creates this common sense of humanity. Not authors representing groups, but authors telling us their stories. Whether it's their personal story or a story they made up, doesn't matter. They're telling us their stories. They're sharing their art with us. They're sharing their ideas with us. And that's what creates this common sense of humanity. Anyway, there you go. There are my thoughts on this issue, on issues or thoughts I've been having involving diverse reading. I look forward to your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.